They laughed together when the world wasn't watching, and they held each other up when life felt too heavy. But behind those warm smiles lived a quiet tension, heartbreak, pride, and regret. For years, Elton John kept the truth tucked away about the bond he shared with Princess Diana and the pain that almost shattered them. Please subscribe. It means a lot to me and costs you nothing. Now he's finally opening up about the story that reshaped both of their lives. Their first meeting happened in the summer of 1981, a year that changed Britain forever. Prince Charles was preparing to marry Diana Spencer, and the whole country was caught up in the fairy tale vibe. For Elton, already a global superstar, that year meant something different, something personal, because it marked the start of a friendship that would change him deeply. He had long been a familiar face among the royals. The Queen Mother enjoyed his music, and Princess Margaret, with her bold, rebellious style, often invited him to private hangouts at Kensington Palace. Elton had dined with dukes, performed for aristocrats, and even joked with Prince Philip, who once playfully teased him about driving a bright yellow Aston Martin around Windsor. Still, even with all that glam, Elton never felt fully comfortable in those royal circles. That all shifted one unforgettable night at Prince Andrew's 21st birthday party inside Windsor Castle. The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers and jewels, strict royal formality filling the air. Elton, dressed fairly modest for him, sat at the piano playing softly while guests mingled. He later admitted he felt nervous and out of place surrounded by so many lords and ladies. Then he looked up and saw her. Diana Spencer walked in, young, glowing, and not yet a princess. The room changed instantly. Elton later wrote in Me that she had a rare ease, a gift for making anyone feel relaxed around her. When their eyes met, he gave a shy smile and she answered with genuine warmth. Minutes later, they were chatting like longtime friends. They laughed about the stiff music playing and even mimed the Charleston in the middle of the ballroom, so unexpected that the Queen herself noticed and smiled. Elton later said he felt like he'd known her forever that night. For Diana, that humor and kindness were a lifeline, especially with a future filled with royal rules, pressure, and non-stop public scrutiny closing in on her. For Elton, she was refreshingly real, unpretentious, sharp, funny, and overflowing with empathy. He called her fabulous company, the kind of dinner guest who was wildly indiscreet, loved to gossip, yet cared deeply about everyone around her. From that night on, their connection grew. Both felt like outsiders in their own worlds. He, a flamboyant musician constantly judged for who he was, and she, a woman about to surrender her freedom to the royal machine. They recognized each other's struggles without ever saying a word. That spark of understanding, born from laughing on a ballroom floor, became one of the strongest friendships of the late 20th century, even though neither could imagine it would one day end in heartbreaking tragedy, with Elton being the one to say goodbye for them both. Through the 1980s and early 1990s, their bond only strengthened, even as fame kept them under constant flashbulbs. The public saw the smiles at charity events, concerts, and royal galas, but behind those moments was a private kindness that held their friendship together. Elton often said Diana had a rare ability. She could make the most intimidating people in the world feel relaxed, even though she rarely felt calm inside. Her marriage to Prince Charles grew colder as the decade went on. The press swirled with rumors, affairs, and emotional distance. Inside Kensington Palace, Diana felt trapped by rigid royal expectations and a life that didn't match her heart. Elton understood that kind of isolation. Behind his glittering stage costumes and fame, he was battling addiction, doubt, and constant public judgment. They saw that pain in each other instantly, and it created a trust few others shared with them. During these troubled years, Diana frequently attended Elton's charity events, especially those supporting AIDS awareness, a cause that meant everything to both of them. At a time when fear and misinformation were everywhere, Diana broke royal tradition by visiting AIDS patients, shaking hands, and hugging them without gloves. Elton later said that moment changed global perception forever, and it was then he realized just how fearless she truly was. She didn't care about image or gossip, she cared about people. And even with all the heaviness in her life, Diana still carried a mischievous humor that matched Elton's perfectly. She teased him about his wild outfits, and he loved how she could turn royal stiffness into pure charm. At parties, she'd laugh so hard at his jokes that the aristocrats around them looked shocked, and she'd just roll her eyes at their snobby attitudes. Wherever they went, chaos followed. At one London dinner party, Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone both became instantly drawn to Diana, and things got messy fast. Elton later said it nearly turned into a fistfight over her attention. She could bring Hollywood superstars to the edge of a punch-up without even trying, because they were completely enchanted by her. But behind all the attention, Diana's private life was heartbreaking. She was dealing with bulimia, long nights without sleep, and a painful feeling that she wasn't loved. Elton would visit her just to sit and listen. No cameras, no spotlight, just the comfort of two friends trying to escape the pressure. But fame didn't make things easier. As her popularity skyrocketed, so did the manipulation and palace politics surrounding her. Elton worried constantly, knowing trust inside the royal world was fragile and dangerous. By the early 1990s, they were like siblings, joking, arguing, and depending on each other with real affection. Still, even strong friendships crack under fame and exhaustion. And soon, a misunderstanding pulled them into their lowest moment, one that neither of them ever truly forgot. The rift. By the mid-1990s, their bond was one of the most famous friendships between a celebrity and a royal. They survived scandals together, supported each other in private ways the public never knew. But in 1996, everything shifted. A single project, meant to help others, ended up tearing them apart. Elton had been working on a glamorous coffee table book of rock photography, with all proceeds going to an AIDS foundation. Diana had agreed to write the foreword, a powerful gesture from someone who had spent years defending people affected by AIDS. To Elton, her involvement wasn't just helpful, it was deeply meaningful. Then, suddenly, everything collapsed. A letter arrived from her office, polite, distant, and unexpected. Diana explained she could no longer participate. Afterward, Elton learned why. Buckingham Palace advisors had objected. They didn't want her associated with a book that included photos of semi-nude male models. Just like that, their strongest bond was cracked, and the fallout would haunt them both. They didn't like the idea of a royal being linked to that kind of imagery, and their disapproval hit hard. To Elton, it felt like a betrayal, not from Princess Diana, but from the friend he trusted the most. Years later on Larry King Live, he admitted, "I wasn't too happy, and I let her know that." He sent her a message explaining how hurt he was. Diana, overwhelmed and pressured, replied with what he described as a tense letter, sharp, cold, and final. Then came silence. Months of it. Elton said the real pain wasn't her decision, it was the sudden distance. At the same time, Diana was drowning in pressure. Her divorce had just been finalized in August 1996. She lost her title, Her Royal Highness, and with it, a piece of her identity. The press followed her non-stop, and the palace offered no comfort. Surrounded by mixed agendas, Diana didn't know who she could trust. Elton suspected her advisors pushed her to withdraw, but deep down he also wondered if she was tired of being tied to other people's causes. Either way, the damage was real. Two people who once shared everything, jokes, heartbreak, even quiet truths about the royal world, suddenly felt like strangers. "It was awful," Elton said. "We'd always been honest, but pride got in the way." He admitted he could have called her, but didn't. "We were both too proud," he confessed. And before they could fix things, time slipped away. Nearly a year passed, and the silence only grew heavier. Behind the scenes, Elton kept pushing forward with his charity work, while Diana tried to rebuild her life as an independent humanitarian. But both carried that quiet ache, the sting of a friendship left unresolved. Neither realized how little time was left, or that fate would pull them together again in the middle of a devastating loss. The Call After Versace. On July 15, 1997, Italian designer Gianni Versace, one of their closest mutual friends, was murdered outside his Miami mansion. The news stunned the world. Both Elton and Diana were crushed. She had worn his iconic gowns, posed for Harper's Bazaar, and cherished him as a confidant. After hearing the news, Diana reportedly asked her bodyguard, "Do you think they'll do that to me?" A chilling thought considering what was coming. At Versace's funeral in Milan, Diana spotted Elton sitting in deep grief. They hadn't spoken for months, but she walked over, took his hand, and whispered, "I'm so sorry. It was silly. Our falling out. Let's be friends again." Elton said those words from Diana hit him right in the heart, and in classic Diana style, she softened the moment with humor. Because right after comforting him, she joked, "Actually, God, I'd love a polo." They both laughed, and just like that, the ice melted and their friendship came back to life. They planned to meet again soon, but 6 weeks later, that reunion would never happen. The night the world stopped. In the early hours of August 31, 1997, Elton woke to the sound of his fax machine. A message read, "So sorry to hear about this awful news." Confused, he turned on the TV, and everything froze. Princess Diana had been killed in a car crash in Paris, chased through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel by paparazzi. She was only 36. Elton was shattered. "It felt unreal," he said. "Just weeks earlier, we were laughing together at Gianni's funeral, and now she was gone." The Spencer family asked him to perform at her funeral. With Bernie Taupin, he rewrote "Candle in the Wind," first written for Marilyn Monroe. The new version began, "Goodbye, England's Rose." On September 6, 1997, Elton stood inside Westminster Abbey before millions around the world. His hands shook as he sang. "It wasn't a performance," he said. "It was a farewell." For 4 minutes, the world watched him. But the moment wasn't about him, it was about Diana. "Candle in the Wind" 1997 became the best-selling single in history, over 33 million copies. Yet Elton said he never felt pride in it. Why would anyone want to listen to it? It felt morbid. It wasn't something I could ever celebrate. To him, the song wasn't a hit, just a scar he carried. The legacy and the promise. Over the years, Elton never forgot the promise he made to protect Diana's boys. When Prince Harry later faced brutal media harassment, Elton spoke out, "I feel a deep sense of duty to protect Harry and his family from the press intrusion that led to Diana's death." He stayed close to both princes, often hosting them privately. And the regret? It lingered. Elton admitted that their brief fallout in the 1990s stayed with him for years. "If I could go back," he said, "I would have picked up the phone." He said he would have apologized, that life was too short for pride. Elton later admitted he believed Diana only withdrew from the charity project because palace pressure boxed her in, another reminder of the invisible forces ruling her world. Their friendship was one of a kind, a royal and a rock star tied together by loneliness, humor, and raw honesty. Through Elton, The world saw Diana unfiltered, a woman who joked, cried, and spoke freely, just like anyone else. Through her, Elton rediscovered compassion and purpose, eventually becoming one of the strongest global voices in AIDS advocacy. Even now, when he sits at a piano and the crowd goes silent, he swears he can still hear her laugh in that quiet moment. He once said she proved that kindness and honesty could survive in a world obsessed with image, and that's why she remains unforgettable. Their friendship was real, cracked by pride, and remembered forever in a single song. Decades later, the world still feels the loss, and Elton still carries her memory like a candle that never goes out. What do you think, friends? Was their bond fate, or just two lost souls finding each other in the chaos of fame? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Golden Scape channel for more untold stories behind the legends.